All right, everyone, please make some noise for SavageWizzrobe. Hey, Savage, how's it going? Welcome on in.
Oh, going great, Foxinthefedora. How are you doing too? So, here we are. This has been excited for this for quite a long time. So this is a very well-known game, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Very good game, but also a very broken game. So today we are doing the category which is called MST, or Medallion Stones Trials, or some of us even call it Meme Sweat and Tears, if you're, as a nice joke. So today I want to welcome as well, I do have a couple commentators on the side too, so that would be the Wayfaring Fox and Gamer Wolf. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well and having a great time.
Heck yeah, so am I. And I hear that $2,000 is coming up for our goal, so that's pretty good.
Very close.
$48 left. $48
Here.
left. We can do this, you guys.
Very
Come on.
close.
And that reminds me too, I have a special thing. So in the run there, I did agree to wager something. So there's a Dampe race, and the Dampe race is going to average about like 50 seconds for me, and I agreed to donate $1 per second that I finish the race on the timer. So that'll be fun. So look forward to that once the adult section comes in. But without further ado, let's just get started here. So we'll go right ahead and make up the new file. Oh, here we go. What is the file name?
All right, it's looking like it's going to... Who's the winner here? Who's the winner? It looks like... Actually, wait, hold on. We have one thing we need to do before then. There was one donation before you popped in here, and you need to choose where it's going.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an easy one. Because Super Metroid's coming up, let's go save the animals.
Save the animals? All right, putting that towards save the animals. All right, so let me check out the bid wars here. It looks like I think Moltres won. Moltres is sitting here at $135.
Moltres, you say? Okay, well, here we go. 7 characters, shouldn't be too bad. All right, so I'll just plug that in there. That should be correct. Good old Firebird. So I guess let's get a countdown going, right?
Also, before you do that, I just want to agree with Ian Keith there in the chat. You mentioned the adult section. Zelda has an adult section? Oh, shield your eyes!
Yes, well, it's because basically Ocarina of Time as a game is split into a child section and an adult section, which in this particular run, the child section is a little bit shorter than the adult section is. The adult section is like the majority of the run, maybe about, I want to say like 2/3 to 3/4 or so, give or take. So, whenever you're ready, Fox, do you want to do a countdown?
All right, here we go. The countdown starts in 3, 2, 1, go!
All right, so let's get right into it. So this is Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. Specifically, the first thing that you might notice is it's actually all in Japanese. So the reason why it's in Japanese is it's short answer because it's faster. Long answer because this game displays text one character at a time. And Japanese is a more efficient language than English because it takes fewer characters to express the same thought, so it overall becomes faster. And it's faster than English by about 10 minutes. And specifically, this version of the game that I'm playing, this is actually a Japanese 1.0 cartridge of the game. So I am playing on a real N64 right now. So that's very cool. So here we have just an intro. So basic story of the game is Link has this nightmare. He basically wakes up, and then he gets the sword and the shield, and normally he's supposed to go to Deku Tree, right? Right? Well, we're gonna get the sword and the shield, but something weird is gonna happen past that point. So we'll get to that when we get to that. And then furthermore, in this game, there's a certain technique I like to use to match the text. So if you see right over here in the text boxes, if I don't do it right, you might see a blue box appear down at the bottom. But if there's no blue box, that means it's a frame perfect text mash. And speaking of frames and this game's frame rate, this game runs at 20 frames per second, and it also has a lot of frame perfect tricks in it. So you'll see a lot of those. And pause buffering. Pause is in P-A-U-S-E, not P-A-W-S, but hey, that works too, right?
But it's Pawday.
Okay, it will be canonically, yeah, pause is in, like, beans buffering. So that'll be fine. Yeah, so other than that, that's pretty much all what there is to that, and this is MST, Medallion Stones Trials. So the goal of this category is to beat all dungeons, hence the Medallions and Stones part. Which, that category just means, or that criteria is just step into the blue warp and get whatever medallion or stone, and the trials part means do all the trials in Gan's Castle. So that's basically what the category stands for, and it's kind of, in some ways, not too different than your standard Ocarina of Time playthrough, because, like, technically, everyone, when they first beat this game, they do MST, but just not without all the tricks. So, yeah. So I'm gonna get up, like, very shortly here, and we're gonna start doing some of the movement. So there's a bit of cutscenes during the first part, like about 3.5 minutes. Well, 3 minutes and a bit is cutscenes. But then you're gonna notice I'm gonna do some funky movement, and to the way Frank Fox, maybe you can explain, like, why I choose to move the way I do?
Yeah, so what you're gonna see him do is he's gonna start walking backwards almost immediately. You essentially just end up moving faster if you just walk backwards in Ocarina of Time, and overall, if you want to do like long distance movement, it's better to just walk backwards.
Yeah, and then long distance movement is usually when the distance is, if you can get there in 4 rolls or more, and it's a straight line and you don't need to see where you're going, yeah, walk backwards, it's fast.
Yeah, that was actually something I had to actually kind of break myself of, because I constantly was like rolling a lot until I found out about the walking backwards, and it was like, oh my god, why was I doing so much rolling?
Yeah, and furthermore, it's completely glitchless. And then there you see me do also side hops, because technically as a child, frame perfect side hopping is actually faster than backwalking, but only by a little bit, and if you're a task, then that's better. So you can see more of this kind of movement here, which is sometimes what we call box movement. And here's a little trick called a bridge clip. Got it first try, very nice. That's frame perfect, by the way. And now I'm headed to the shop to buy the shield, and then this is where things are going to differ from a regular playthrough, because I'm not going to be confined to the forest. So I'm going to be escaping the forest, basically, so I'll just focus on that for a bit. Someone wants to explain escaping the forest here with the crouch stab?
Yes, so he's going to go over to the person who's normally at the end of the edge of the forest, and with a specifically lying crouch stab, you can just flip right through the guy, and just by crouch stabbing and talking to him at the right time, and then you can get past him to escape the forest right there.
Yeah, so that actually went pretty well, because I got the crouch stab first try, and if you might have noticed, if you were paying attention closely, you might have saw that my sword was glowing a bit. That's actually part of another glitch called ISG, or Infinite Sword Glitch. So what that glitch does is it has a lot of interesting properties. It allows your sword, for one, as the name implies, it allows your sword to like constantly be swinging, so swinging every single frame. But as a result of that, you also cannot fall off ledges and the like. So I will eventually be using that to start hovering through the air, which is kind of neat, and it allows for a lot of breaking of this game. And then furthermore, you see I get the Ocarina here. Technically, you don't have to get the Ocarina for this category because my next goal here is to get the bottle from Kakariko Village from the chickens. And you can actually use the bottle as an ocarina through a glitch called Ocarina items. When I catch, like, say, bugs or a fish in a bottle, I can backflip with the filled contents of the bottle and then quickly, like, press the bottle button and the sword button in midair, and I will start actually playing the sword like an ocarina. It's strange, but it works, and it's essential for a trick I'll be doing later in Deku Tree. So, in the meantime, I will go over to Kak using a certain weird type of movement called extended super slide with water. So basically, by holding a certain position on the stick called ESS or extended super slide position, it's a slight input so that Link pivots in place. By doing that particular motion, you preserve whatever speed you have. So when you recoil off of something, like say this fence coming up, you will preserve that speed when you come out of the water. And what will happen is there's an owl outside Kakariko, so the game treats you as busy, so you actually skip him, which is quite handy. So I will go for that right over here. And it kind of looks funny as Link shuffles his feet as he just goes backwards. But yeah, that's called, we call that, in the community, we call that West to Kak for short.
It's important to note that doing that is important. As you can see, it's almost sunset. The way this route works, you have to have enough time to get to a specific place before it's too late in the day. So that trick is pretty much vital for that.
Yeah, because if I was to not get that trick, I basically would lose about a minute further down, but that's okay. Alright, so here we're collecting chickens to get the bottle, and here I'm actually targeting to reduce lag, because this is N64 after all, and N64 has quite a bit of lag, so that's something that I do. You also see that with these chickens, what I do as well is when I pick them up, I backwalk, because when you hold a chicken, you cannot roll at all. Because if you try to, you just throw the chicken instead. Because the A button is used for both rolling as well as throwing a chicken. So there's not actually too much going on here, so if you have any donations, now's not a bad time.
Alrighty, well, we're in luck. We got one donation here. I hope I pronounced the name right, by the way. From the Jaded Mew, I believe that's how you pronounce that. If I'm wrong, please correct me. $5 donation, putting us at $1,957. Thank you so much for the donation.
Wow, we're so close. Thank you so much as well. Okay, so there, I do a little ladder jump to save a little bit of time. And it's just a matter of rounding up all these chickens over here. So there's a whole point to going through all this, and that's for the bottle. And as you see, it looks like I'm attacking chickens, but a Zelda game teaches you not attack chickens, because, you know, they summon a horde of chickens to take you down, but here it's actually fast, because that will cause them to start moving away from you and towards the pen. So that's how I herd them towards the pen. And here's she doesn't really have a technical name in this game, but we call her Anju just because of her appearance in Majora's Mask. So there's the bottle.
In Majora's Mask is pretty much considered the term that is pretty much Hyrule, just in an alternate dimension.
Hey, Savage, can I interrupt one more time?
Yeah, go right ahead, Fox.
Special thanks here to the British Andy for donating $113 and pushing us over the edge to $2,070.
Nice!
Oh,
Let's
yes.
go!
Up in the chat, let's go. 2K.
2K, nice. The comment here is, it's always awesome to watch Savage run Ocarina of Time, especially on fastest first. Good luck on the run, buddy, putting this towards the Trans Samus palette. Nice, thank you,
very good choice.
Andy.
So, by the way, for some context, Andy and I are good pals, so we actually met each other over at Vancouver last year, so that was cool. Like for the first time IRL. So it's so great that he can come out. And thanks so much again, Andy. So over here, I'm about to do Deku Tree, and Deku Tree is actually a very technical dungeon. So I will probably get one of you commentators over there to basically.
Oh, I'm gonna break in one more time here and say thank you to Nilsson for 15 gifted subs.
Whoa! Thanks, Nilsson.
Oh my
Nilsson
gosh.
with the gift sub bomb. Yo.
Wow. This is
You're
good.
awesome.
This is great. This is amazing. Everybody who's donated, be it subs or directly donated, you all are amazing. Thank you so much for helping this cause.
Yeah, thank you so much again. Yeah, go ahead, Fox.
Okay, so
Wayfaring Fox. Yeah.
Believe it or not, despite being the first dungeon in the game, it's one of the most difficult to do fast. There's a lot of small optimizations that you can do, but getting all of them consistently takes a lot of practice. So
Yeah, and that's probably because of the fact that this dungeon is pretty much vertical instead of just more like horizontal in a way. Because you're climbing upwards a lot and falling downwards as well at times.
Okay, there I tried to pause a little bit too late, but basically there's a slight optimization you can do where you can skip the navi text when you walk in front of the vines if you pull out the stick or the sword at the right time. That's okay. It's only like it only is a small time save, like maybe a couple minutes. And geez, these Skulltulas right now. Okay, so I'm just gonna carefully go around them. I'll try to. Oh no, Cassandra! So by the way, there's a little bit of lore on that Skulltula there. We call her Cassandra, or at least Skater82297, one of the members of the OT speedrunning community, called her that. So that Skulltula has a name.
Yeah, this is...
Okay, so up here there is going to be another trick, the B1 skip.
Yeah, that Skulltula climb is kind of a bit of a nerve-wracking one if you're like new to this. I'll definitely tell you that. And also, if you guys wonder like why he skipped that chest only contains a map. It's not really needed.
Yeah, the map is not needed at all. I know my way around these dungeons. So basically what happened there, that was a B1 skip. So I basically got all the way up here and skipped the slingshot, more or less. So, and the way that works is that particular setup gets you doing what's called an anti-grav along the ceiling, which brings you all the way up here. So you basically slide along the ceiling. And so here I'm just burning the web. Okay, my health is kind of low. I hope I don't die, by the way. Might just take this a little bit safe. Oh no, I died. Dang, well, that's okay.
No.
That's okay though. I can recover this, it's fine. Alright. Should go one more frame probably. Come on. There we go. But this movement is cool, so... Okay. I did not expect to die there, but that's fine. Okay, so these are scrubs. You have to hit them in the right order. As they say, 23 is number 1. And then after this, I'm gonna have to fight Goma, so that's the idea. First boss, already. So, so in this case, might be wise for one of you to, while I execute the fight, to explain power crouch stabbing.
So, power crouch stabs you. The game doesn't have an assigned value to the crouch stab. It's kind of silly that it exists, but it is very abusable to the point where you can... What it does is you can use like any recent damage that you've done, and then it just stores that damage value that you have.
Yeah, that's right. So if you saw at the beginning of this fight, I jump slash with a Deku Stick. A Deku Stick jump slash has a value of 4 damage, and the crouch stab will do 4 damage to Goma, and that's why I can take her out in just 3 hits. What? What? Oh no! I died again! What the heck? Are you kidding me? Oh my god! Oh my gosh! Well, this run's terrible now. I think I should reset. Jeez. So actually I just debated you because that death is actually fine, so basically now I'm gonna set up a trick called a wrong warp. So Wayfaring Fox, I think it would be a good idea for you to explain wrong warping or blue warp cutscene skips. This particular one, by the way, is called Gandor as well.
This wrong warp here, so like a wrong warp in general, like we have traditional style wrong warps like these that existed for quite a long time, and essentially what happens is you combine the effects of 2 loading zones at once to go to somewhere that you're not supposed to. And this is what is known as a setup here to...
And all of a sudden, we're now in Gan's castle.
Yeah. The setup there was to wait the exact amount of time, because that blue warp is on a timer, and you want to enter the door at the exact right time that the blue warp is supposed to start the cutscene for being the dungeon there. So
yeah, so and then with that trick, it's actually possible to beat Ganon as a child, but you see, I save warp there because I haven't met all the requirements yet. So, in particular, what I am actually here for is I'm here for something else, which is a bomb chew chest over here, which will be incredibly helpful. So I'm going to do, this is ISD, and I'm going to use this to hover over the Speemos and grab a silver rupee up there. So, and with a shield as well as ISD, you can do things like hover in the air if you have a damage source. So typically it's done with bombs, but here I don't have bombs yet, so I have to just use a Beamos laser instead. And here's a chest containing 20 bomb chews. So I have to remember to chew the switch right here. So that's the normal abbreviation we use. Instead of saying bomb chew, we just say chew. Also, I'm gonna need to take a little bit of damage, unfortunately. Not that much. Okay, let's get... There we go. Ow. That will be relevant later. So then, when I exit this place, something bizarre is going to happen. So normally you're not supposed to be here in Gan's castle as a child, but when I exit, I am instead at Hyrule Castle. And this is why, like, the time of day is so important, because, like, you need it to be the right time, because the guard, if it's too late, there will be guards there, and you can't go through here and you lose a minute, so, yeah.
So
it's gonna focus on the guards for now.
So specifically, it's when the music stops playing is when you can't get past these guards here, so you definitely want to be here before that happens.
Wow, these guards are kind of being trolly right now. I've never had this pattern before.
Yeah, that's the problem with the guards when it comes to, like, even in a vanilla game. Some of the guards' patterns is completely random. Like, some of them will actually, like, go across, like, across one of the pathways completely, and then you see them cycle again, and they'll stop halfway.
Okay, I'm not gonna risk it here. Yeah, this is, by the way, this is incredibly bad guard luck right here. So this is actually one of the first instances of luck or RNG throughout the whole game is guards. So this is like a very bad guards, but sometimes on the other end of the spectrum, I have had really good guards too. So that was just nothing I can do. That was basically marathon luck in a nutshell right there. And here we're gonna talk to Zelda. And of course, the reason why we talk to Zelda is we need to get Zelda's Lullaby, and Zelda's Lullaby is needed to get magic, and magic is needed for a couple things in this category. Specifically, the fire arrows for one of the trials in Ganon's Castle, Forest Trial, as well as to fire light arrows to defeat Ganondorf, as well as dispel the trials, and that's literally all you need magic for. Zelda's Lullaby is also needed for Light Trial 2 to spawn a chest to complete the trial, but it's kind of a more minor thing there. Other than that, this is quite a cutscene, so if you have any donations, now is a pretty good time for that.
All right. Well, we do have one other donation here from Wag, donating $25 and saying, "Kill is uncomfortably within reach. Everyone, come on, let's save those animals."
Yeah, the Edakuns and Decoras will thank you. Yes, I literally know what those animals are called, because Super Metroid being another one of my all-time favorite games. So, like, if you were to ask me the name of, like, just about any Metroid enemy, I probably would know it. But yeah. So anyways, you may have also noticed that my health is pretty low, so, yeah, I hope a bomb 2 doesn't kill me pretty soon, so... Fox, do you wanna, or Wayfaring Fox, do you wanna explain, like, cutscene skips that involve death?
Yeah, so there are certain cutscenes that we're going to do an intentional death to skip. So for a few of the cutscenes where you learn a song, once you enter those cutscenes, you learn the song. And so by dying at the start of those cutscenes, which you can do, you're going to receive that song and you won't have to watch the cutscene. And Savage is going to do that to get Zelda's Lullaby here.
Yeah, and for some perspective as well, that cutscene skip, it saves about 1.5 minutes, so it's pretty significant. And there will be another one somewhere later in the run too, so keep your eyes peeled for that. So here we're going to get Zelda's letter. The letter we don't really need, it's just kind of there. It's really the lullaby that we need. So I'm going to go do this little dance. Oh no, I died! Well, it's fine. It's, like we said, it's an intentional death. Yeah, so here, the next thing on the list is to complete Jabu Jabu's belly. Which is like, that's not the normal order that you do the dungeon in, by the way. So you don't normally do Deku Tree first and then Jabu, but you can, and that's the beauty of this game, because there are so many glitches. The glitches open up the game a lot. It's honestly one of my favorite parts of running this game, as well as how satisfying the glitches are to pull off on top of that. So here, what we're going to do next is head over to Lost Woods and make our way over to Zora's Domain. But the thing is, I don't have a Zora scale. And also there's an owl in the way, but owl is no big deal. So there's an owl, like, just above there. So if I let a bomb 2 go and I target it, that keeps me busy, and hence skipping the owl. So this is the escape that you can do. This is an alternative kind of forest escape right here. So you can basically, like, just clip inside this, like that. And there you go. And then furthermore, there's another trick I'm going to do right here to save some time. There's a way to get past this waterfall without playing Zelda's Lullaby, so I'm going to get ISG off this plaque here. There we go. And then I'm going to do something called a mega side hop with Bombchu. And that will just put me directly behind the waterfall, and it's quite fast. And next up, we have another trick that we have now is King Zora skip. Need to check. Okay, my Deku Nut count should be all right. We don't need the Deku Nut here. So normally what you're supposed to do with King Zora is you're supposed to get this message in a bottle from his daughter Ruto, show it to him, and then he very slowly moves out of the way. We don't have time for that. Better just to skip him. So I can clip out of bounds here. Like that. And go completely around him. And that skips all of that. Of course, that also means that King Zora is still in the way, so in order to get out of here, I will have to save warp later, but that's okay. And then furthermore, there's... You also would need a fish to enter Jabu Jabu here, but you can do it without it, of course. It's only a suggestion in this game. So I'm going to go for this strat right here, so I'm going to try and end up on his snoot, more or less. Should work. Okay, there we go. Took a little convincing, but he finally let me in, and then the loading zone for Jabu actually extends all the way up there, so conveniently. And then here, oh, whoops. That was actually kind of bad. Okay, let's just re-enter. Okay. Did not expect to do that. Okay. There was supposed to do a setup to do a unleash a Bombchu at the right time, but you know. Okay, back inside. Yeah, so that's the setup I was supposed to do. I just backflipped instead of side hop for some reason, but it's okay. What? Okay, hang on. That was strange. The Bombchu was supposed to hit the switch. Don't know why it didn't, but maybe a bubble got in the way. I don't know. Add this to one of those, yeah. Add this to one of those that's never happened before moments. What? And it did it again. Okay, I'll just do the backup because for some reason this one is not just choosing to work. So yeah, I'll just do like the slower but guaranteed way to do it. So the other way you can get through here is just to go over here. Then just unleash the Bombchu here and it hits the switch. No problem. Okay, so moreover, I have to keep in mind my Bombchu count as well, because I'm not going to be able to replenish any Bombchus throughout this run. So it's kind of important that I use them properly. Meanwhile, in Jabu Jabu's belly, in a speed run, as far as we're concerned, it's actually not that much different from a regular playthrough for the most part. Like, there aren't a huge amount of skips. It's basically you can shoot the what's it called? You can use the Bombchu to hit the switch at the start, and then eventually you can do what's called a mega flip, which is a backflip with a lot of backwards momentum later on to skip a section of the dungeon. But other than that, that's pretty much it for major skips in Jabu Jabu. A couple more, but not too many. So here we're talking to Ruto and making our way back up. Of course, these bubbles can be a little bit nasty sometimes. They are a bit random. So there isn't like too much happening right here, so it might be a good idea to get a donation or two in. Yes, the other thing though is you can actually hit Ruto. You can use Ruto to hit the switch if you throw her like that. And what I also like to do in this next room, I can, while waiting for the elevator up here, I can attempt to do a super slide off of Ruto as well. Yeah, there it is, the Ruto super slide. Another trick you can do with a shield, that if you roll at the right frame as you grab something and get hit with the shield at the same time, you actually go flying backwards with the shield. Often done with bombs, but you can do it with other sources of damage as well. Yeah, so most of this now is just waiting up until the boomerang room, so it's not a bad idea to get an announcement in or a donation maybe.
All right, well, we do have one. Rubicante, I hope that's how you pronounce your name. $10 donation saying, donating during one of my favorite games of all time and looking forward to the POBs buffering. Putting this towards saving the animals because, I mean, come on.
I mean, yeah, it's the morally correct thing to do, even if it goes against the law of speed. But you know, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So right here now in this room, I can use Ruto to kill one of these stingrays here. So that saves a little bit of time, and then it's just a matter of throwing a couple deku nuts and then crouch stabbing and getting the boomerang. There's that as well, and I also like that comment said POBs buffering. That was pretty great. There's the boomerang, and then we're off to Baronade, the boss of this dungeon. So just after a couple of quips, I'm just gonna head over to where the path to Baronade is, and there is a blue switch in the way that's locking a door as well. So I'm going to need to open that without a crate that you would normally need to hold down said switch. So that also involves a little bit of tricks, so I might have to focus a little for that one. It is, part of it's frame perfect, so part of both of these is actually frame perfect. So here's first the mega flip. So I wait till about the seventh red flash, or about 8th red flash actually, this works. And pause buffer to a certain frame. That frame. Backflip. And then here's the switch. So what I do for this, for a little setup here, should be right. I'll go for this unbuffered once. Nice, got it. That was frame perfect, by the way. And then there's another trick in this room to hit this switch up here from down below. And I got it, nice. Fun fact, I never actually got that trick in practice, but, you know, hey, it works. I'll take it. And now is the Baronade fight. So, either Gamer Wolf or Wayfaring Fox, if you want to explain how this fight works, go right ahead.
Yeah, so in this fight, Deku Nuts are your friend, because for this fight is split into 4 phases. First phase, you gotta hit the tentacles up top. In the second and third phases, you want to stun Baronade and then get rid of the little Baris that are stuck to Baronade on each phase, and doing so as fast as the Deku Nuts, and then it will also make the final phase faster, where if you do the stun for the final phase, it's gonna be delayed if you manage to hit Baronade during either the second or third phase. The Baronade got hit immediately there.
And that's Baronade. Just like that. Yeah, so of course the reason you might have noticed I was actually rolling into Baronade there. That was intentional, because when you take damage during that part of the fight, Baronade actually comes up instantly instead of waiting for like however long time. It's faster, so I do it. And you also might have noticed that so far I have been collecting some heart containers. So far I'm at 5, and there is a good reason for that. So And that reason is simple. It's Fire Temple. And Fire Temple in this category can be very, very scary because you have to deal with heat timers and that sort of thing. And basically, each heart container that you get is 8 seconds. And in total, I will get 6 heart containers before I go into Fire Temple. It is possible to do it with 5, but just for the extra safety, to have the 8 seconds definitely doesn't hurt. And we can in this particular route, I do completely skip the Goron tunic as well. You don't need it, and it takes a long time to get it, and it's very out of the way, so I don't bother getting it. Oh yeah, and by the way, here's Ruto, and she says, "Oh, you saved me. I want to marry you now. Let's get engaged." And she gives me the stone as the engagement ring. So far, that's 2 stones out of 3. No medallions yet, but we're getting there. And this actually basically concludes everything that we need to do in the child section of this category. So next goal is to go straight towards the adult section, which is where the remainder of the run will be. Okay, so normally what I do there for the save warp, I do have to save warp to get out because King Zor is still blocking the path because I skipped him earlier. So the save warp, when you save warp as child in the overworld, you go back to Link's house, so you see that. And when you save warp as an adult, you go back to the Temple of Time on the warp pad there. So you see me do that a few times. It's important and fast. So normally what I do there is I equip a bomb chew, but because I was a bomb chew short, I normally will go for like something called a hyper-extended super slide off of a tree over here, but I'm not going to do that and just save the chew for later. So I'm just going to backwalk all the way over to the market, more or less, and go directly to the Temple of Time. But you might be wondering, I don't have all the stones yet, right? How can I open the Door of Time? Well, it's simple. The Door of Time kind of doesn't exist. So, anyone want to explain, like, Door of Time skip real quick?
Yeah, so there's the door. It kind of does its job, but it fails with the fact that there's a really small gap in the left side of it. So, with that very small gap, you can do a specifically angled side hop. You can angle your side hops pretty much any way you possibly want. The easiest way is by doing what is known as a side roll into a side hop, and then side hopping into the door at a specific angle will clip you out of bounds, and you're gonna use that to get past the door.
And there it is. Right there. That actually was pretty good. Only 1 extra pause. And first try, too.
Hey, Savage, I'm going to jump in real quick to welcome on in Jamich, who just raided with a party of 3. Welcome on in, Jamich and Raider.
Yeah, welcome on in. Welcome into Ocarina of Time, Meme Sweat and Tear. I mean MST. I mean Medallion Stones Trials. So we're ready to pull the Master Sword officially, so onto the adult section, and we actually have a very, very long cutscene. I believe in English it might be like, what, 6 minutes long? Something like that.
Yeah, it's a pretty long cutscene. I mean, in the game, it's meant to signify, okay, you pretty much. So here's the thing about Ocarina of Time. The child section is practically an extended tutorial, because a lot of the aspects that you're going to encounter in the adult section of the game don't happen in the child section. You don't need to worry about keys. You don't need to worry about boss keys. None of those things exist in those initial 3 dungeons. Once you transition to adult phase, though, now you gotta start worrying about keys and that.
Yeah, that's right. And specifically, like, small keys and boss keys. Well, aside from one boss key, which is the one for Ganon's Castle right at the very end of the game, I don't need any of them, as you might have guessed, because there are actually boss key skips for the dungeon or each of the 5 adult temples. So I will definitely go for all of those. Depending on how Fire Temple goes, I might go for the Fire Temple boss key, but it's not going to be my first resort. It will be my backup. And skipping the boss keys is sometimes very easy in the case of Forest Temple, or quite difficult in the case of Shadow Temple or Spirit Temple, so look out for those. Those are some pretty tough tricks right there. But either way, here we are, 7 years later, we're now an adult. Got the world on our shoulders, and that wager that I was talking about earlier, that Dampe race, basically for every second in the Dampe race that takes me to get to finish it on the timer, that's every dollar that I will donate to the cause, so hope I go slow. That's the idea. Or hope that Dampe drops a lot of flames. And then furthermore, at this point as well, there are a couple more items that I need to get before I start doing the first adult dungeon that I'll do in this category, which will actually not be the Forest Temple, but instead the Shadow Temple, because the Shadow Temple is right in the graveyard, conveniently. And the hover boots are quite an important speedrunning item, as are other items that are in the graveyard, like a shield that's there in one of the graves, or the hookshot. So it's important that I go there, like, as soon as I can, more or less.
The shield is probably the most important item. A lot of big glitches involve the shield. So.
True, yes.
Yeah, that's right. When you really break it down, shield is used for so many glitches in this game. It's mind-boggling, mind-blowing even. Like, if you think about it, without a shield, you can't power crouch stab, you can't get ISG, you can't hover, you can't mega flip, mega side hop, super slide, Hess. Like, there are a lot of things that you can't do unless you have a shield. That, and of course the bottles are pretty busted too, as well as, well, bombs and bomb chews, when in tandem with a shield, get pretty broken as well. And you'll see that. Hover boots are also pretty useful as far as speedrunning goes, and you will see them a lot in this category as well. So now that cutscene's over, if I was to try and leave, the Door of Time would still be up, so the only way back around it is to save warp around it. So at least that's the fastest way around it. It's possible to go around it, but it's far too slow. Otherwise, faster just to save warp around it. And there it is, it's still up. I never opened it. So at this point, it's mainly heading toward the graveyard. And there's going to be something kind of fun that I like to do in Hyrule Field at this time, kind of inspired by one of the runners of this game, Jodenstone, who would do something like this, like make music along with the Hyrule Field music. I always like doing that, it's fun. And so just doing some movement here through Kakariko. Like, currently we might have a time for, well, like a donation or two. Might not be a bad idea, as this is pretty much standard movement right now. I'll let you know when the Dampe race is about to begin, though.
All right, well, we do have another donation here from Dirk. $10 donation from Dirk. Thank you, Dirk. Saying, I'm learning a lot of new things about Zelda today. Pov's buffering, Jabu's secret snoot entrance. I'm interested to see what's next.
Well, I'll tell you what's next. That will be the Dampe race. And thank you again so much for that donation too. And fun fact about these graves in this graveyard, on this particular version of the game, version 1.0, Link grabs onto the side of the graves, so that's why I backwalk towards them. If you don't, he just like jumps over them, which is slow. And then here, there's another trick before I enter Dampé's grave here. So if I get hit as I'm pulling that, the grave opens by itself. And here we go. Here's the Dampé race. So hope I go slow, because every second is $1 for me. If you have any guesses in chat, you can post them as well.
And now the one thing about the Dampé race, again, this is also where RNG will rear its head. Those flames do not have set locations where they spawn out. So yeah, as you can see right there, unfortunately Savage ran right into a flame.
Yeah, and getting hit by a flame loses about 2 seconds every single time, so... Yeah, so I imagine this will probably end up being like a 50 or something.
Which is not too bad.
Yeah, which is still pretty good.
Especially when you're doing, like, if you're doing the vanilla game, which you actually have to do this race twice in the game, because Dampé also has a piece of heart stuck away if you want to go for, like, you know, completion and aim for, like, the full 20 efforts in the game. But to do that, you have to get to the finish line before a minute.
Yeah, so by the way, if you guessed right, well, congratulations, you won an all-expenses-paid trip to Hyrule. And I also have to donate $50 now, so I'll make sure to get on that once this runs over, you know. But it's a cause that I very much believe in, so great. It's an amazing cause. Okay, so here I'm going to do all my equips, and then I'm going to do a little technique here to void out. And then respawn right at the beginning here. So I kind of have to do that. That's fast because there's a Song of Time block that blocks the way otherwise, and that's slow. So I don't have Song of Time, and I won't be getting it at all. And here we have another trick called a hookshot jump. So basically, on the right frame, if I fire the hookshot at this fence, I can rocket up into air after bonking it. Should be one more frame from this one. There we go. Whee! And now I'm way on top of the seam, and this is part of a trick called Shadow Temple Early. So I can actually fall off this seam really easily, so I'm just going to wait here for Navi. And I'm going to use her to get Infinite Sword Glitch. So if you might have recalled, I mentioned before that Infinite Sword Glitch makes it so you can't fall off ledges, and this is actually incredibly useful for this seam walk here to get into Shadow Temple early. Okay, and then I'm going to head over here and then get on top of this and just go right down here. And so this part of the graveyard is not loaded currently, and more importantly, the Shadow Temple door is not there, and the torches are not there, so I can just literally walk right in and do Shadow Temple first. Which normally, this is a dungeon that normally to get here, you would have to get the Nocturne to Shadow, which would normally require beating the Forest, Fire, and Water temples. So being able to get here really early is a really big time save. So here we have Dead Hand as well. So this is not too bad of a fight, but it can be a little bit RNG with this spawn. So I did get a pretty good spawn. It was also a pretty good fight. And then next we have a trick that is quite scary, so I will need to be quiet for this while I focus, but commentators explain away. This is called a boat skip coming up.
Yeah, so the Shadow Temple boss room is right nearby this room. It's completely unloaded, and there's a clip here in this room to be able to get over to that room. It can vary depending on what set it does, but I'll be able to. You're doing the mega flip, okay?
Yeah, I'm doing the mega flip to first clip through the ground, and then I will void out or go out of bounds, and then I'll land in an unloaded room, and then this is where I'll have to be really quiet because there's pause buffering. That's can be quite nerve-wracking, so I'll do my best. So this is the boss door right here. Okay, here we go.
So what's going on with this bomb too is that it's gonna backwalk off the ledge so that the bomb its angle gets messed up, and you see how it literally stuck to the side of the ledge right there. That's necessary for it to come back and be able to hit him, so he can do what is known as a ledge clip and damage off the bomb at the exact right time.
Yeah, so unfortunately I failed it right there. I'm not entirely sure what happened. It looked correct up until the very end, I guess. But yeah, it's a pretty precise trick. I did have to improvise that a little bit because there was a certain frame that I looked for on the bomb tube before I send it off. It's basically what we call in the speedrunning community, we call it the third black frame of the bomb tube. And that's the frame where I want to backwalk off the ledge. So I just have to make it all the way there, and if I fail it, it's fine because I saved and I can just try it again, so it's all good. This trick is also part of the reason why my estimate is quite generous too, by the way, so... Whoops, okay, let's just fix that.
Well, he's doing this trick again. If you're wondering why all these weird movements that he's doing to set up all these glitches, there are so many intricate setups devised so that you can perform most of these tricks in a speed run that is in real time. There are a few things like side rolling gives you a specific angle change every single time. The ESS position allows you to turn with a specific angle every single time. So most of these setups are different methods of just combining all of those resources together to get these glitches to work consistently. A lot of them are very precise.
All right, nice. Second try. Let's go. Okay, so that is a particularly precise trick. It's of course boat skip. That trick is actually triple frame perfect. So it means there are like 3 frame perfect parts of it. So the mega flip is frame perfect to clip through the ground from the hover boots chest, and then the bottom part is double frame perfect to skip the boss key completely. And here we have Bongo Bongo, which, if this goes right, he should go down very quickly. I just need to get the infinite sword glitch. There we go. And then just walk into him with my lightsaber there, and there he is. Easy, boss. So now coming up here, we have something that was similar to Ganondorf, or that wrong warp in Decatry at the beginning. This is going to be Shadow cutscene skip. So I'm going to do a specific setup to try and skip the cutscene that happens when you get the Shadow Medallion. So if someone wants to explain it while I focus on doing the trick.
Alright, so again, like with the other blue warp with Deku, you're wanting to instead death warp and then hit continue after dying, the blue warp will still continue. You just need to die at the exact right time so that, again, the cutscene is supposed to start on the right frame.
No, I forgot the OI. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, whatever. It's all right. Okay, I was supposed to do. I forgot to do the Ocarina items onto the blue warp, but hey, that's all right. I guess we'll see the cutscene anyways. Yeah. So what was supposed to happen there is I damaged myself down to half a heart, and that was like part of the setup. So. Part of the setup is like you OI onto the blue warp, and then what I would have done if I did it correctly was I would play the Master Sword on this edge of the blue warp, and then I would move forward, and then until I reached the rim of this white rim of the drum, I would do a slash to pass a certain amount of time, and then I would fall into whatever the gunk is on the outside of the drum and target, and I would die on a specific frame. So it would twirl around, and then that would skip. It would have skipped this cutscene, but this cutscene thankfully is not too long, so it's not a huge time loss. So everything is good.
A big nuance about the adult warps is that they are supposed to pick you up and then start spinning you around before the cutscene starts. They're a little bit longer than the child warps, so that's a little bit important to note. And the other thing is a lot of these setups are used to deload the blue warp, with the exception of one.
Jumping in real quick to welcome in Tall Werewolf. Kyle, how's it going? Thank you for that incredible raid. Welcome in, Raiders. How is it going? Welcome to the Fastest Furs Spring Spectacular. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome in, everybody. So here we are, and so now we got more tricks coming up in this run of Meme Sweat and Tears, I mean MST. And so this particular trick coming up requires me to get a fairy. And in order to get the fairy, I'm going to have to sell my bugs. And I also need 50 rupees, so this is the best way to do that. And the fairy is conveniently right in the shop here. So that will be relevant because there's going to be another trick I'm going to go for pretty soon called Doom Jump in Dodongo's Cavern. It also looks really cool, and as bonus points, I'm going to be on fire during it for extra flair, you know.
If you do get too low on chews, by the way, go ahead and get the chews from GTG when you get the chance.
Yeah, that's possible too. I mean, it should be fine, because once I get to Spirit Hover, it should be alright. I'm used to doing one with a Spirit Hover with, like, usually 5 or 6 chews is fine. Okay, so next dungeon we're gonna at least do something in. We're actually, surprisingly, not gonna complete this one yet. I was supposed to drop the chew. There we go. So, this particular dungeon, I'm dipping Dodongo's Cavern right now just to get the bombs and to light the eyes on the statue. So, that will be the goal here, is just to do those two things.
Hey Savage, I'm gonna interrupt for just 2 seconds here to say that looks like my shift as host is coming to a close here. So I wanted to thank everybody at Fastest Furs and everyone in chat for welcoming me back as a host, and I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure and an absolute honor to be able to do it. So thank you to everybody who welcomed me back, and thank you to all the heads of Fastest Furs for putting this together and, you know, putting forth such a great cause. Savage, I wish you all the luck in finishing your run and making it awesome. So good luck, my friend. And you know, if you see like a wild squirrel with a, you know, like a thing going on about wanting to take over the world, you know, just let me know. Just let me know.
You'll never take me alive!
Oh, shut up, you.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Fox. Thank you so much. You were a great host, as
you.
before. And so, by the way, I did get the trick first try, and here are the bombs.
Fantastic. Well, I'm gonna turn it over to Solaris here, and until next time, stay awesome, everyone. Bye!
Stay awesome too, Fox. Bye. Alright, so that was Doom Jump. We got the bombs. As you can see, it's a pretty cool looking trick, and the way that works is, so when you hookshot and die from lava on the same frame, you go rocketing up in the air. And underneath that bridge there's actually no collision there, so you just end up going right through it. It's pretty great. And it looks cool because you're on fire the whole thing, so... Bonus points.
Yeah, there's just like a myriad of things with if you just can interrupt your hook shot animation, it just skyrockets you straight up with anything. So they're not even just that. You can use like cutscenes and other things to also do it.
Yeah, so right there you saw I did something called a HES, or Hyper-Extended Super Slide. It's basically you move into the bomb, like you pull a bomb and then on the right frame you roll into it and you hold that special ESS position. The position where Link pivots, and then you go flying backwards with a lot of speed, and you can turn around as well. Or you can turn, so you don't have to go in a straight line. Okay, that's fine. I'll just back like this. So I like to go for those when I can, for sure. That's the fastest known method of movement in the game is the HES. So currently, what's next on the table is we're about to get magic, which of course we need for both fire and light arrows. Where's the Tektite? Okay, it won't be a threat, so it's fine. The Skulltula, on the other hand. Okay, that's also never happened before. What's that?
I just gave 20 gift subs, so.
Oh, thank you so much, Fox. You're amazing. That reminds me too. I still owe the cause $50. Gotta remember that. I'll make a note of that. Yeah. So here we are, getting some magic, which of course we need for a bunch of, like a few things, but not too many. Mainly just fire and light arrows, and that's about it. So now, because this is a cutscene, now is a good time for announcements, donations, if you have any.
All right, that sounds good. And hi, my name is Solaris. I'm taking over hosting here for the next couple of hours.
Hi, Solaris.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Solaris.
I do have a donation here. It is for $10 from Nomad D. Fulf, and it simply reads Fulfitty Fulf Fulf Fulf. Thank you so much for the $10.
Yeah, thanks so much. Much appreciated. Okay, so let's go and next thing is we're about to get the Bolero of Fire, which is a song that we're gonna need to play later. Because I'm also not gonna do Fire Temple right now, as I'm not gonna do Dodongo's Cavern right now. So the way this works is, of course, I'm gonna start using hover boots pretty much immediately, but first off, I'm actually gonna go over to where this fish is right here. Because I sold bugs, I used up a fairy, my bottle's empty, and I need it for tricks later, so I'm gonna go grab Fish Buddy here. And in addition to that, I'm gonna grab this bomb chest here to just restock my bombs completely. I'm also gonna re-equip the Ocarina as well. Over that. And spoiler alert, I'm gonna be dying soon to skip this cutscene as well, much like with the Zelda's Lullaby cutscene skip. So gonna get the hover boots equipped there, and I'm gonna use a trick to lower my health down a certain amount as well, or at least faster, called a damage buffer. So I'm pulling out the Ocarina as the bomb's hitting me, and the bomb actually has 7 frames where it can damage me. So I'm just making those iframes reset so it can damage me 7 times in a row. At least up to 7 times. So I'm just gonna damage myself down to half a heart, like that. Go over here, do a little setup. I hope this bomb doesn't kill me, by the way. Oh no, I died again! But it's fine. So, upon dying there, you get the Bolero fire. If the camera goes like that. So I'm just gonna save there. And then we have another trick coming up, which is going to be a super slide. Back down to where Dodongo's cavern is, so I'm going to do that setup to align the camera a specific way. Super slide back. And so now I should be out of bounds, like over here. There's a certain texture that I'm looking for over here. Just gonna fall back inside, and this is back to Dodongo's cavern. And here I'm gonna save warp as well, so if you have anything to say, now's a good time.
Quick thing about that trick, that super slide hits that cutscene there. That allows them to avoid hitting a ledge and also avoid playing. So that's how you get back over to Dodongo's cavern from that.
Yeah, and then if you noticed, I also did a save warp there and a reset. There's a reason for that, because in order for the wrong warp here to work correctly, basically the last cutscene that I watched has to be a certain cutscene. But the Bolero cutscene does not work for that, unfortunately. So that's the reason for that, and then here I'm gonna attempt a strat to... Where's the switch? There we go. So that's a frame perfect strat right there, so you can basically use Navi the same time you hit the switch, and the game will think you hit the switch, but only for a brief second, and it allows me to get through that door if I move quickly enough. And here we have the easiest boss fight in the whole game, King Dodongo. There's not too much to him, just throw a bomb in his mouth, crouch stab him, rinse and repeat. And if you might notice, I have been taking a little bit of damage lately, and I will be taking more. Is it intentional? I don't know, you be the judge.
Yeah, so we've got another wrong warp incoming. I'm not going to spoil where it goes. We'll see where it goes. This one's going to be a little bit tricky, though.
Gonna damage myself down to half a heart there. And there's King Dodongo defeated. Yeah, super easy fight, even casually. No problem. So there is going to be another wrong warp here, although this particular wrong warp will allow me to warp to somewhere. So if I die and trigger this blue warp at the same time, a wrong warp is going to happen here. So let's see where it takes me. And there is a little bit of RNG here too, because this fish buddy that I have could not be my buddy and decide to... Okay, I just need to remember the setup here. Okay, so like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, bomb. There we go. And if I don't catch the fish here, I'm just gonna have to run. Okay, good. I caught the fish. So that's second flash. Five, 6, 7. Okay, so basically there I backflipped and did Ocarina items on a certain frame to land on the warp. And oh no, I died! Really? Again? Are you kidding me? I mean, this is fine though. Death in this game is not that punishing, so... But now I'm suddenly in Gerudo Training Grounds. And moreover, I also have the Goron Ruby now. A little bit later than Child's section, but you know. And so next is going to be the Spirit Temple area, so Gonna go ahead and do a few equips. Right there. Okay, so it looks like I'll have 5 bomb shoes for Spirit Hover, which is not too bad, so it should be fine. Okay, so up here you can clip through that thing right there if you hookshot a specific spot, and then here you can do a trick. This is probably gonna fail, but okay, maybe not. Okay, that's good. So you can basically clip on top of the jail, jump onto that thing with a certain angle, and then do what's called a skate skip here. And normally you're supposed to free a bunch of carpenters, but we don't have time for that. Just go right over the gate and around it. And here we have the Haunted Wasteland, which there are actually a few different strategies to get through this place, but I'm going to do my own certain strategy here. And there are void zones everywhere here, so I'm going to have to be careful. And so some top runners of this game go for something called Wasteland Hess, which is basically where you do a extended super slide across either half of the wasteland up to like this point, or even all the way to the end, which is a pretty scary trick to go for. I don't go for it just because of how risky it is. And then past this point, you need either memorization or the Lens of Truth. Because in this category, you don't need Lens of Truth for anything, I use memorization, so this path is completely by memory here. And then upcoming is a pretty intense trick that I do have to focus on. Hopefully I get it. It's called Spirit Hover, so I'll let one of you guys explain Spirit Hover.
So, the goal here is, you just want to go right to the mirror shield chest right at the start. You don't want to bother it going anywhere else through the Spirit Temple. Like, you can go through the bottom portion of the Spirit Temple, but it takes longer. So it saves time to do this hover to get all the way to the top. It's going to put him on a seam that he can get to the silver gauntlet chest. You can backflip onto a second seam from that. And he'll be able to use a super slide to cross from the silver gauntlet chest on the side he's currently on to the side that has the mirror shield chest. He'll be able to grab the mirror shield as a result.
So I did mess it up a little bit, but that's okay. I can just go for it again. Okay, what am I doing here? Okay. I just need to watch out for that way up there. Just the bird enemy flying around. Okay, I think he's coming for me, so I'm just gonna ready my shield here. Okay, I think this should be okay. Let's go with this. Okay, that looks good. Oh, okay, no. Oh, dang it. Okay, well, I guess I'll go through the temple. I could go for it again, but I was just slightly off in my positioning, unfortunately, but hey, we get to do all these backup strats now, so I guess that's good, right? So, I was kind of hoping to get that, but hey, this is going to lose a little bit of time over going through the whole temple, but, you know, it's fine. Okay, so, this case I'll get to do a couple strats that I didn't Didn't plan on doing, but it's okay. So in this case, we're gonna do something called a silver block skip, which is that trick right there. And then we're just gonna go right up through the temple. And the reason why I did not decide to go up for again, even though I had like 3 bomb chews left, you need at least 1 bomb chew to do it, but I want to save those bomb chews for another trick that's coming up later, so particularly in Water Temple, because I find that's more consistent. And hey, we also get to see what my buddy Jensling refers to as the meatball room, so here we are. So if you have any donations or the like, you can go right ahead and read some. It's not too much happening here, just some standard movement.
Sure. I will always remember this as the meatball room now, by the way. Thank you.
Yes.
No donations at the moment, but I would like to remind everyone that we do have an incentive for Super Metroid, a bid war incentive of kill or save the animals. Save is at $110 and kill is only at $10. So if you want to kill the animals, save the frames, now is your time.
Okay, so meanwhile, we're just making our way through the interior of the temple here. It's, of course, much faster to do Spirit Hover, but because Spirit Hover saves, like, probably about 2.5 minutes over doing this. But hey, it's fine, right? So, let's just keep going upwards. So here I just have to play Zelda's Lullaby on this hand over here. Okay, I don't need bomb shoes anymore, so I need the Ocarina equipped. Oh, of course. Remember guys, the real final boss of this game is not Ganon, it's playing songs. So then I'm gonna go over here and grab this chest that has the small key I need. Well, somewhere here, right? Yeah, I think so. Alright, so let's grab this. And I'm just gonna make my way up to the mirror shield chest, and then you'll see another trick where I literally just clip right through a door. So get ready for that. Furthermore, right side of this is I can actually go for a bomb drop up here too. Right there. It's in that pot. Whoops. Okay, not like that. Okay, so if we do hover boots in this room is actually like quite easy to do quickly, because basically you have hit this switch with hover boots on. Oh no. And not do that. Okay, just need to be exceedingly careful now. Well, that's okay. And doing that movement kills all those, I think they're called Anubis, that are on the that are in the room there. So basically the way those enemies work is they just... They go to whatever room is directly opposite, or whatever part of the room that is directly opposite you, more or less. And then up here... We have a boss fight, or a mini boss fight here, but I don't have to do it, at least not right now. I will have to do it eventually, though. Because that door doesn't exist. And now we're at the mirror shield chest, at last. Again, could have gotten it from the outside, but, you know, the seam just did not want to cooperate today, but that's fine. So, here we go. Just need to do that equip right there. So coming up, we actually have a couple other little tricks. So first off, there is a trick right here against this Iron Knuckle. Okay, I guess it didn't work. That's fine. So, an advantage to doing this Iron Knuckle later is if you do die like this, you only just respawn in the previous room, thankfully, so it's really easy to recover from that. Okay, I'm not gonna go for that trick again, but yeah. Okay. There is a certain trick where you can just walk straight forward, and if the Iron Knuckle's turning the other way, then you can just go straight through the chair as he breaks it, take only a little bit of damage, and it looks really scary, but it's actually pretty easy to do. And then over here, I'm just gonna try for a bomb drop. I got on these Armos here. And there it is. So that's actually kind of nice, because there is normally sometimes a bomb chest that I was thinking of going for over here in this temple, which completely refills my bombs to 20, but now I have 20 bombs and I don't have to worry about that, so that's pretty good. And then up pretty soon here, we're going to have another difficult trick called Spirit Temple Bosky Skip. For a little setup to climb this wall. It's another kind of precise trick, like triple frame perfect, like Boat Skip was, so I'm going to need to focus for that, so if anyone wants to take care of commentary, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, that movable wall it can be a bit of a pain for those like new to the game, because there is a bit of an annoying spot with it. If you are in between slaying points, you automatically get kicked off and you take damage for it as well. It does make sense, but the only problem is you just have to be really careful on when the points slide.
Right, now I'm just doing the trick. So I'm on this little out of bounds ledge here. Okay, I should go one more frame, I think. Yeah, this should be good. Okay, maybe not. I'll find out soon enough, but let's go with this. Okay, good, it worked. First try, nice. So what this does is that's called a hover slide, and what that did is that sent me flying way back. Of course, it's basically doing a super slide and then equipping hover boots at the end to cross large gaps or move large horizontal distances. So that put me directly over top of the boss door loading zone and got me over here. So that's how that trick works. And it's a pretty difficult trick too, so the fact that I got first try and made it look pretty easy is pretty good. I'm happy with that. And here we have what the community refers to as Nibiru Knuckle. So this is kind of a scary fight, because if you die here, you're losing 5 minutes. There is a cutscene skip here that I can go for, but I'm not going to do it just because it's only a small time save, and the risk is that you die and lose 5 minutes, so I don't want to do that. And there she goes. And that, by the way, that crouch stabbing there looks very scary, but if you're on like the right side of them like that, this holds true for all Iron Knuckles really. If you're on the right side, their axe actually can't hit you when you're crouching and like holding up left on the control stick like that.
Yeah, I also believe the hitbox for when if the axe hits you, it's not on the handle, is it?
Yeah, the hitbox is pretty strange, and it basically goes right over top of Link's head. That's the idea. So hey, you avoid getting hit, you still power crouch stab, and it's a win-win. And up next here we have Twin Rova, who is sometimes also called Troll Rova, because this fight is a little bit RNG. She can fly around for a bit and do nothing. She can attack really fast. She can give double cycles. She can give extra cycles. So we'll see how the marathon luck plays out here too.
Yeah, this is another area where there is no pattern at all.
Yeah, it's just whatever the gate. It's whatever your the boat, however the bones fall, more or less.
Yeah, first phase, the two witches will just fly around, and their fly pattern is just completely random.
Yeah, and there's pretty much nothing you can do except react to it.
Yeah, your aim is to basically fire the opposite element. The opposite element against the one that needs to get hit by it. So, fire needs to go against ice needs to go against fire. But if the witch that you're supposed to aim a certain beam at is not in range, yeah, it's pretty much a bit of lost time, which only just can be chalked up to RNG.
That's right. Although there is a bit of a way to manipulate them. If you saw, I actually fired the hook shot there a little bit. And if you do that, you can keep them in place like that, and it makes it so you can line up a shot. Also, the hitboxes can be kind of weird on them as well, so... If you saw that...
it looks like you're shooting it right in the air, but apparently it's still making contact.
Okay, this is actually alright. So far. Okay, no doubles cycles yet, so I'm... Just have to watch out just in case she decides to give me an extra cycle at all. Okay, so that's 4 hits, and after 4 hits, it will transition to the other phase. Okay. So now we're at phase 2, which phase 2 is actually the easier of the 2 phases to do in a speedrun. Because it's basically, okay, absorb 3 of the light kind, 3 of fire or ice, and then just power crouch stab her to death. That's all it takes. And you can actually speed this up a little bit by hookshotting here. And then she'll go to the next platform a little bit faster. But other than that, there's not too much of a way to optimize this fight. I'm gonna ready my shield here. And just mass power crouch stab. Till she's no more. And there we go, that's Twinrova.
Nice. Yeah. Good thing you were able to get that in one cycle, because I believe I think it's after like 2 separate runs of the element. That's when RNG reappears, and you could end up getting absolutely trolled. Like you could get like 2 fires and then just a whole row of ice.
It's specifically when she's below half health in the second.
Okay.
So you do once she's below half health in the second phase, then she starts doing mix-ups and it's completely random, and you don't want that to happen ever.
No, you definitely not want to have that happen. I mean, you already dealt with RNG once. You don't want it to reappear.
Yeah, and then the guard RNG was pretty bad in the child section, but I'd say this Twinrova was actually pretty nice. Yeah, so then what I'll do now here is, it is possible to do a cutscene skip here, but I go for the heart container, but plus this cutscene is not very long for seeing the medallion anyways, so I'm just gonna grab the heart container for Fire Temple and just step right into the blue warp, and we'll eventually get the Spirit Medallion. And if you guys have anything you want to say, like donations, other things, go right ahead.
Sure, I'll just take a moment to talk about OAR. Fastest Furs Spring Spectacular is raising money for OAR, the Organization for Autism Research. Your donation will be put to immediate use to fund research, deliver resources, and support their major programs. 83 cents on every dollar you contribute directly funds their programs, and all donations are fully tax deductible. You can use the command !charity for more information, or go to researchautism.org.
Right, thanks so much for that little spiel there, Solaris. Yeah, so by the way, here's Naburu. She's the Sage of Spirit. She gives me the Spirit Medallion, although she basically says, like, in Japanese, well, of course it's in Japanese, but what she says there is, she says, like, I never knew you would grow up to be so handsome, and she says, but the thing is, we never actually met her as a child. Normally you're supposed to meet her as a child first, then get the silver gauntlets from the child side of the Spirit Temple, and then later do the adult side, but yeah, we kind of didn't do that. We did our own thing instead. Like, I don't know, clip right through a block. So either way, though, our next stop is Fire Temple, which arguably is the single scariest part of MST, this particular category, and where a lot of things can go wrong. And to be fair, in my practice runs, they did go wrong. Because you have to deal with heat timers. I will have 48 seconds to work with, thankfully, thanks to having 6 hearts, but in case something goes wrong, I do have plenty of backups, so it's all good. I'm prepared should something go horribly, horribly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
Also-
furthermore...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Gabe. Go ahead. Oh, okay, you want me? Okay.
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so furthermore, there is a little strat that I could do at the start of Fire Temple to avoid skip talking to Darunia, basically, in that room, but it doesn't save that much time, and if I don't go for it, it makes backing up things faster, so I'll just talk to Darunia in that case. Go on, you two, if you wanted to do something.
I wanted to quickly mention, there's going to be one thing that Savage is also going to have to be careful of, that is taking damage. Because, I don't know if you guys noticed earlier when he was in Death Mountain, the timer actually doesn't go by the max amount of hearts you have, it's the current amount of life you have at the moment. So, the lower your life is, the lower the time is you get. There are a couple, I think there are a couple of safe spots in the Fire Temple where you do not have to worry about the timer. But if you have damage, you go back into the area where the timer gets reactivated, you're going to have a lower amount of time than you would have.
That's right. Yeah, so in particular, like, this room in Fire Temple's heated, the boss room is heated. There are definitely a couple other rooms that are heated as well. Now that I think about it, most of the Fire Temple is actually not heated, just aside from my, like, maybe 5 or so rooms. If memory serves me right. So here, like, this is another heated room right here. This is actually, like, one of the scarier parts of going through with no Goron Tunic. Is, like, you have this heated room, and then you have another one immediately next to it. So, and in that room, I have lost time because of making mistakes before in the past, so, yeah. And furthermore, there is, like, a little trick that I can do when pressing the Ocarina button in midair to actually extend the amount of time I have by freezing the heat timer for a little bit. So you might see me do that. Like, I'll actually just showcase it right here. If I just backflip and press the Ocarina, you see the heat timer actually disappeared there for a brief moment. And you might see, you'll definitely see that again as I go through here. And then here I like to pull a bomb right about there. Then blow up that wall nice and quickly. So the goal here is basically to get keys and free Gorons. Although I don't have to free all the Gorons. Just get a few keys and that's about it. And the goal is eventually to get up to the Megaton Hammer, which I need to defeat Volvagia. And which I'll also need in Ganon's Castle as well. So it sees some use. For sure. And then here I'm going to use that little time-stopping trick. Pressing the Ocarina button in midair a bit more. You'll see it a bit more in this room as well. And then this room is a room that I have sometimes died in because you often run out of time in this room if you're not careful. Or if you make, like, a single input mistake sometimes. Okay, so there I'm gonna press the Ocarina button again. And then a little bit here as well. I don't really need to, but because I now have like 10 seconds. So if I didn't pick up that extra heart container, I would have had like only 1 second left on the timer there. So I do that basically because of that room, if anything, and of course Volvagia at the end of Fire Temple too. So here I'm about to do a trick, so I'll focus on the trick. It's basically a lock clip. Just like that, and that skips going through like an entire boulder maze toward the top of the temple, and you just end up directly on top of that boulder maze and just can go right through. It's very fast. Yeah, so now there's not too much happening for a little bit. It's just some standard movement. So if you guys want to comment or say donation things, go right ahead.
One thing I'd like to mention on the subject of freezing the timer, there's a pretty old task, which is a tool-assisted speed run, where it was what we called Ganonless. So you beat the game by just warping the credits, doing a wrong warp to the credits without beating Ganon. And it pretty much what it had to do was use the time freezing thing that Savage talked about with the expiration timer to perform a wrong warp, and it went through the entire temple, with that expiration timer, and it kept freezing it during the entire thing. So if anybody wants to see that, it's definitely interesting to watch.
Yeah, Ganonless is definitely a cool category, but yeah, so what you noticed me do is I actually did another super slide right there, and that's to get to this other half of this maze over here with like the flaming walls. And here is actually a good spot to stock up on bombs, which I will need them pretty soon, both for Volvagia as well as tricks. So that's a really good spot where I like to stock up on some bombs. And here we have a flare dancer, which this fight's pretty easy. It's just like, okay, power crouch stab, pull it out. And curiously, flare dancers, they're actually like have the same immunity as the final boss does, Ganon. So like Master Sword is actually the most effective weapon to use on them. It's a fact that I kind of recently learned, but you know, always learning things about this game.
Yeah, for some reason, Master Sword jump flashes do not have reduced damage, and then everything else does like 1 damage.
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. But hey, that's something I learned about doing the randomizer of this game, so. So this room is pretty easy to optimize. It's like pull the bomb and then just, you can actually climb up the wall during that little cutscene that plays upon hitting the switch. And so this room is the hammer room, and then this switch has weird collisions, so I like to jump slash on top of it like that. It's just bizarre. Sometimes you won't try and get up on the switch when you try and walk onto it. But yeah, that's what I do. And then it's just a matter of getting to the hammer chest now. So far, Fire Temple has not gone too bad, aside from, of course, Volvagia, which is kind of a wild card. Okay, I think I should probably kill this Keese before I attempt the next trick here. So this next trick I'm about to do is the Fire Temple boss key skip. So I'm basically going to line up with this wall over here, get a super slide. Do my clips. And then I clip out of bounds here. And then jump slash right about there, and I should get directly to the boss room. Which, if that happened, then here I am, right here. And here we have Volvagia, so there is a well-known strat to do this boss fight. So it's basically, you can use bombs to damage a second Volvagia, which is like actually the flying Volvagia, because this fight has 2 separate Volvagias in it. It's got the one that pops out of holes, like whack-a-mole style, and then it has the one where Volvagia flies in the air, but they share the same HP value. So if I damage one, I damage both. So that's what I'm gonna use. If you see me bomb this hole, that's the idea. And I'm gonna focus on this because this might be tight, but we'll see. This is probably one of the scarier parts of the run. Okay, so that first bomb hit. Okay, and now that's it for Volvagia. So yeah, I used a total of 7 bombs on the hole, and that damaged her enough so that her health was low enough so that one power crouch stab would just defeat her. And another thing that power crouch stabbing also does, if you store a hammer jump slash like I did when I entered the fight, it keeps the property of the hammer, so it actually works out pretty well for us. So here we have another little thing. I hope I don't die though. That would be bad. Okay, I'm just gonna save just in case. That's my hint as to where I'm going. Okay, I sure hope the lava or the heat doesn't kill me, by the way. Oh no, I'm dying again. Are you kidding me? How many times have I died in this run so far? No! 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 Really, dude? Really? Oh no. Well, I guess it's too late to reset now, right? I mean, it's fine. I'm in Forest Temple now, so it's all good. Just like that. So that was another wrong warp, by the way. Okay, and I'll save there just to be safe, but... So what that did is that was another wrong warp that... If you die at the same time as you trigger that blue warp, you go to Forest Temple, which works out. And it actually skips needing a song called The Minuet of Forest, which otherwise I would have had to have gotten unless I did the wrong warp. So there's not really too much happening right now, so this is probably a good time for other commentary or donations.
I would just like to mention briefly, you got sold from the hole and managed to deal with it well, and you didn't say anything about it from the logo.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, so going back to the Volvagia fight from earlier, there's something that can happen that we call troll hole, which is where Volvagia pops out of the hole that you're bombing. And yes, it is RNG, so we can chalk that up to marathon luck. So I actually dealt with that surprisingly well. Sometimes it doesn't go so well. So it is still possible, as I just demonstrated there, to if that does happen, you can recover from it. We'd prefer it doesn't happen, but hey, we live in a real world and not an ideal one, so... Here we have some Stelphos. Which these Stelphos I actually have to defeat because they spawn the bow Stelphos that are immediately above, in the room where you get the bow. So that went pretty well, and then next we have a couple tricks coming up, one right after another. So first a clip through a Song of Time block, which is frame perfect. And then another trick called a Mega Jump. So if someone wants to explain those tricks, that would be good. Go for this.
The Song of Time clip is just another ledge clip that's going to be done here. But the Mega Jump utilizes when you have taken damage and then you equip the hover boots, or if you gain speed from any source, you can like hit a wall like with a crouch stab or anything else. You can use the hover boots to just keep that recoil speed going, and you can use that after jumping to keep the speed in midair for jumping across, and that allows you to get across that gap.
Yeah, and that was also very clean, by the way. That was only one pause, which is the most optimal way to do the trick. And here we have another trick that I'm going to be using twice, called a ground jump, to get through this block room, because unfortunately I cannot pull these blocks. So kind of how a ground jump works is you store the recoil from a bomb like this, and then when you backflip, instead you do like the recoil, which pops you into the air a little bit, and then here you can do a little bit of movement to grab this ledge with hover boots, and that completely skips that room. And of course I cannot push the blocks normally because I don't have a strength upgrade. I will, however, be getting a strength upgrade right towards the end of this run, but that's not for a little bit, so... And then here there's go ahead.
Honestly, that block puzzle's slow enough that even if you have a strength upgrade, you'd still do that over doing the block puzzle.
Yeah, the Link's pushing speed in this game, it's painfully slow. If I'm actually no way, I'm thinking actually just the enhancements of the randomized version. But yeah, I don't quite remember if they actually changed that in the 3D version or the re-release on the 3DS. But even then, it's like that block puzzle takes a lot of time because it involves like a couple of backtracks to get around to the backside of some blocks.
So here, by the way, are the most alphas. And they are
these
being
guys
a little
can be
bit messy.
Yeah, these guys can be a bit annoying because there's a catch with these two. You actually have to beat them within a certain frame of defeating one. Otherwise, the one you just did respawns, and yeah, it becomes annoying real quick.
Yeah, it's not a good time. That's for sure. Oh yeah, and by the way, this, if you didn't know, this bow chest, it actually floats. Fun fact of the day. Yeah, slightly above the ground.
Yeah, it's the only one where you see Link's arms actually clip through the chest.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. Ocarina of Time has a lot of oddities, and they actually refer to it as what they call the iceberg, which is like a variety of knowledge that gets, like, it's pretty commonplace at the top, but then as the deeper you get down, the more specific and obscure it gets. So I find that stuff pretty cool. And now we have another Bosky skip here, probably the easiest out of all of them. So anyone want to explain how this Bosky skip works here?
So this banister has a weird thing where you just get clipped through the wall if you like go onto the ledge from like the front end, and you can use the hook shot to get past like the railing on any of the sides, and it's pretty straightforward to do, and then you can just go right to the boss because it's right underneath that area right there.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'm in the boss room, and here's Phantom Ganon. So, of course, it is possible to do a cutscene skip once I defeat Phantom Ganon, but for the fight itself, this phase is pretty much the same as it usually is. So it's like, okay, just shoot the correct one. Two of them spawn. One's darker. One's lighter. The lighter one also makes sound. So this first phase is like pretty standard. Nothing too unusual happening here. The second phase, though, gets a little bit more interesting. And so for the second phase, once this horse goes away, is when I'm gonna go for an infinite sword glitch, and then I'm gonna basically try and get a one cycle on him. Okay, there's the eye. Oh wait, he has to hit me a couple times first, because I need to also set up for a certain cutscene skip later. When I say later, I mean just after this. Okay, there we go. There's the ISG. So here I pull the bow and then just spam arrows, and then what that does is he does recover from it, and then twirls his staff around, but that leaves him vulnerable again to getting hit by the ISG again. So that one cycles him. And that's Phantom Ganon. So there's a little cutscene here, so if you guys want to comment or any donations or anything, go right ahead. Meanwhile, I'll start getting ready on the next trick. I'll just focus on it while you guys go ahead.
Yeah, so I mentioned this specific cutscene skip in brief earlier. This blue warp, you can't get away from it to deload it. And that means there's a trick that you're going to do for this specific cutscene skip where you have 1 frame. During this, he's definitely going to buffer it because if you miss it, you miss the cutscene skip. Where you can backflip and prevent Link from being like stuck in the air from the Blue Warp's animation here. And that from that you can then die afterward. So he's gonna pull a bomb on a specific frame too to be able to set up the cutscene skip here.
One more. Okay, that's good. Okay, I hope the bomb doesn't kill me. Oh no, I died again. Well, so much for that. Dang. Another death. I mean, I must be pretty bad at this game. But anyways, that's the cutscene skip. So it's all good. Okay, so now I need this and this. So now the last temple that remains is the dreaded water temple, which is, well, it's the water temple. It's infamous for a variety of reasons. Like, a lot of backtracking. And you'll be elated to know that I'm gonna manage to skip, like, basically all of it. So that'll be fun. So,
Yeah,
first off, it's just...
Go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead, gamer.
Alright, so yeah, the Water Temple, yeah, if you've never played Ocarina of Time, Water Temple is very infamous because it's pretty much backtrack central. The main mechanic with the Water Temple is that there are 3 levels to it, and you can actually lower the water levels and rise it up at certain spots. I will say that thankfully this was actually altered in the 3DS version, where you can actually now, you're not stuck for like, okay, you want to raise the water level to like the, I think it was like to the third level, but you know, you're going to the second one. I think you're able to actually do that, raise up to the third. I forget. It's been a while since I played the 3DS version. But I know that there was some quality of life improvements done to the Water Temple to make it at least a little bit more accessible, because a lot of players did not like how the Water Temple mechanic went, because it led to a lot of like just getting stuck. I mean, myself included. Like, I got stuck in Water Temple the first time I played Ocarina of Time, and I didn't figure it out until like a little bit later after I revisited it after just letting it breathe for a bit, and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Okay, so by the way, between all of that, there were actually several tricks that happened. So first off was an adult forest escape right there that I did. Second, I did a water, like a Zora's Domain entry with hover boots, which is actually very easy to do and completely glitchless too. And then what I did after that to get to, oh hey, SavageWizzrobe. What I did after that to get to Lake Hylia was I did something called a ladder clip with the hook shot. I went out of bounds and I swam underneath the ice in Zora's Domain to get over here. And currently, we have to hope Marathon luck's nice because I need to get enough bomb drops to finish the run. Oh, and there it is. So yeah, usually I like to go for 15 to 20 bombs here, so that's really good that I got all the bomb drops there that I need for the rest of the run. And here we go. I'm just gonna did the little setup to clip inside that lakeside lab there, and then I did another setup to do something called a super swim and land in the out of bounds water below Lake Hylia. So now the goal is to basically get inside the water temple from out of bounds, and what I did there is I swam close to the shore to snap the camera closer so I have a better idea of where I am. Of course, you can't go too close or else you clip back and bounce. So it's a little bit touchy, but I've done this trick a lot of times, so it's pretty straightforward for me.
A
Okay,
small
now
oddity about being out of bounds is the camera can just lock after a specific amount of time. So if you get close to going in bounds, it unlocks.
Yeah, so that's the whole motivation for doing that. And you see, you noticed I equipped the hammer there. So the reason for that is you can do something called a recoil boost by hammering this wall and get all the way over here without the long shot, which is very, very useful. And then here we are, and you might be asking, but Savage, you don't have the boss key. Well, I also don't need the boss key. Because I have, well, tricks, namely a boss key skip for Water Temple. And this skips basically the whole dungeon, aside from these 3 rooms and the boss. And this is where I use those remaining 3 shoes that I did not use for my attempt at Spirit Hover, and then I do this. And then that clips me right through the door, just like that. And here we are in Morpha's room. So Morpha's not a very terribly difficult fight, but it's basically you have to like pull the nucleus out and trap it in the corner, and that's the basic idea that's going to happen with this fight. And I'm just going to power crouch stab it while the nucleus is trapped in the corner. And if you guys have anything to add, go right ahead.
Okay, so I did a bit of a looking up. I want to make a quick clarification. I said, yeah, so it's not that you can change the water level to whatever you want in the Water Temple. Basically, it's more clarity that was given to the Water Temple. One of the big complaints was the fact that, like, too many players in the original Ocarina of Time just didn't know where the heck to go to lower or raise the water levels. That was actually changed in the 3DS version, where there was actually giving orders to a couple of the doors that would eventually lead to the Triforce marks where you could play Zelda's Lullaby to change the water level. There were also, I think, pictures. Yeah, there were pictures also added to even show what playing Zelda's Lullaby would do to the water level. So a little bit more, just more clarity given to the Water Temple, which helped decrease its difficulty just a bit.
Yeah, and there's Morpha, just like that. So I did get a little bit trolled by the nucleus at first, but then I set it up into the corner there, and then I just jump slashed it into the corner, and then just got trapped and power crouch stabbed it until Morpha was defeated. Just like that. And there is also a cutscene skip here that's possible, but for MST we don't go for it, and the reason for that is that I need the fire arrows, and to get the fire arrows quickly, I need the water in Lake Hylia to be filled, which happens if you trigger this cutscene, so I have to watch it anyways, and I might as well get the heart container while I'm here. There it is. Heart container is useful for a fire trial in Gan's castle. Go ahead, gamer.
Yeah, why Savage says that it's important is because, excuse me, the at the end of the cutscene here, where Bruno gives you the water medallion, it plops you right at that island in Lake Hylia just as sunrise comes. It doesn't matter what time of day you actually go into Water Temple. When you go out, and as long as you finish the Water Temple, you will end up at like a couple of seconds before sunrise. At the island where you're supposed to fire an arrow right into the sun.
Yeah, so that's exactly how you get the fire arrows. You fire an arrow right into the sun when it's sunrise, and down it falls. And you can't get there unless you do unless you have beaten Water Temple and watched this cutscene. Because if you skip the cutscene, the water does not actually raise up again. Or alternatively, it is possible to get over to that island with other strategies like hovering, but yeah, those are much slower for our purposes here in MST. And moreover, that's actually the final medallion and the final dungeon. So we got the MS part of MST done, the medallions and stones, and it's now just the trials that are left. So this is just going to be like a cutscene, so if you have any donations or the like, or other commentary, feel free to add that here.
Yeah, I want to let everyone know that we've opened up a new goal for a new incentive. It's $300 for a Destiny 2 Lake of Shadows Strike showcase. That will go down tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. Eastern. So if you would like to see that, make sure to donate towards it.
Now that definitely sounds exciting.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you guys can definitely make it, man. You guys can make it. Make sure to get the word out about the marathon.
Heck yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, really quick, just remember that, of course, it's for a good organization. It's OAR. And also, once per day, a donation of just $5 or more qualifies you for daily prizes. And some of them, like Kind of Nerdy Housewife has kindly donated a custom Perler pixel art, like paw print. It's adorable. And you get to customize the color and simple patterns too. And there's a few other things. There's a couple Steam games, a $10 Steam card. So it's for a good cause, and you'll also might get something from it.
Yeah, I've checked out some of the prizes myself, and those look pretty heckin' awesome. So that's yet another incentive. If the organization being so good is not one, then that will definitely help too. So I love the work that OAR does.
Yeah,
Okay, so
absolutely.
next-
Oh, I was
yeah,
gonna say
of course.
a Thursday prize day, so it would be for tonight at the one that I named. But there are prizes every day all the way through Sunday. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. So there I just picked up the fire arrows and immediately saved warped. So if you recall, I mentioned that if you save warp as adult anytime in the overworld, you return back to the Temple of Time. So, and because I got the Shadow and Spirit medallions way earlier in the run, which funnily enough are the only 2 medallions you need to trigger this cutscene where you get the light arrows, also known as a light arrow cutscene, or in the community sometimes we just call it LAX, because that's what it is when abbreviated. So in order to trigger this cutscene, you only need to beat the Shadow and Spirit temples, and that's it. Like, you don't need any of the other medallions, but we have to get the other medallions anyway for the category. And also, I want to point out too, like, if I was very sure to have a bio break before this run started, because this cutscene right here, I am not pressing anything during this cutscene. So if there's any time in this particular run to have a bio break, it's right now, and you have like 45 seconds during this cutscene if you need to have a bio break. It's just like a quick one. And I'm like 2 hours into the run, so here you go.
Yeah, and Savage's info about you just need the Shadow and the Spirit medallions. That's also key if like anyone wants to attempt doing Ocarina of Time randomized, because that is basically your only requirement to get the light arrow stack, which of course will probably not be the light arrows.
Yeah, or like at least the light arrow check. Of course, the randomizer is nice because it skips this whole like very long cutscene, which in Japanese this cutscene is like 6 minutes long, and I think in English it's closer to like 8 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this is a very long cutscene. So of course,
This is the longest cutscene in the game, like the entire game.
Yes. Yes. So it's perfect if you guys want to do a commentary or otherwise have any donations to read. Now's a pretty good time. And also, a 20-year-old spoiler at this point. Did you guys know that Sheik is Zelda? Shocking, right?
Absolutely shocking.
If Super Smash Bros. Melee didn't show you that, or this game didn't, I don't know what to say.
I had the initial reverse experience where I played Smash Brothers and was like, oh my god, can I also be Sheik? And then it was like, oh, I can. So that was nice.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead. It's fine. We have plenty of time in this
Okay,
cutscene.
great. Just still speaking on OAR, I'll go back into a spiel about who OAR is. So we are raising money for OAR. This is the Organization for Autism Research. Your donation will help support research grants for those studying the effects of autism. OAR focuses on research that yields results and has practical applications for those living with autism right now, children and adults on the autism spectrum, their families, and all those who give them love and support. For more information, please visit researchautism.org or use the command !charity in chat. It's a really good organization, y'all.
I echo those statements exactly. Yeah, OAR is amazing. I'm definitely gonna get them those $50 that they deserve from that Dampe race. So yeah, here Zelda is just giving me the light arrows. Of course, because this is a Zelda game, and of course, Ganondorf is actually seeing all of this, so he, yeah, expects something weird to happen, but kind of predictable at the same time. I mean, it's a Zelda game. What would a Zelda game be if you didn't save Princess Zelda, right? Yeah, so now Ganondorf sees what we're up to, and he's like, no, you can't do this. I'm gonna take Zelda and bring her piece of the Triforce with me, and so that I can get the full Triforce for myself. So, like, the whole reason why Ganondorf does this, like, story-wise or lore-wise, is simply because, like, what happened with the Triforce is it split up into 3 pieces. Ganondorf has one, Zelda has one, Link has one, or I guess Moltres, technically, because that's my name in the for this particular run. So they have the 3 Triforce pieces, and Ganondorf wants to acquire the 2 others for his own means, so... And that's why we have to save Princess Zelda. But that's okay, for the most part. And this also means we're closing in on the end of the game, too, so there's, like, not much left. Just Gan's castle and the collapse, and that's basically it. And a few more cutscenes, of course. So I am actually going to go for a couple strategies with bombs here to save a little bit of time. So in particular, outside the castle, I'm going to go for another Hess. That will save a couple seconds if I get it. And then down the staircase that goes down Gan's castle, which remember, towards the beginning of this run, we were there before as a child. Okay, no Hess, that's fine. I'll just go over there. So if you recall, we were actually in Gan's castle as a child, which you can't normally do unless you wrong warp or do other shenanigans. But that's actually going to speed up this part of the game because now the Spirit Trial, one of the 6 trials, is now partially solved. So this is, of course, the T part of MST, which refers to the Gan's castle trials. We have to dispel all 6 of the barriers with the light arrows. There are a few tricks and optimizations here, so as well. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just go directly over here. So the first trial that we do is forest trial right here. This is why I had equipped the fire arrows, because this is literally the only spot where you hard to require fire arrows is for this. You need to light these 5 torches. And without that, you either need Din's Fire or a glitch that only works on Virtual Console, which is not Virtual Console, so I can't do that. And then other than that, we have this other room over here, which is another room that's not too bad. So what I do is I wait for this fan to blow over here, which this is actually, like, very consistent. Then I go onto the switch. The idea in this room is, of course, to get all the silver rupees, hookshot this thing, kill the Beamos because it gets in the way. And it dropped a bomb drop too. Of course, it fell all the way down. Dang. Sometimes this game just has it out for me. Then get this one last, and the cycle works out so that I don't have to worry too much there about getting blown off. And that's one of 6 barriers dispelled so far. So the next trial that we're going for is we basically go around in a counterclockwise circle. So we start at the forest trial, then do water trial, then shadow trial, then fire trial, which is probably the scariest out of all of them because, again, we have to deal with heat timers again. And then there's light trial after that. Okay, I just need to figure out okay, hammer. Okay, I'm just trying to remember my equips here. Yeah, that's what it was. But we're gonna say goodbye to Fish Buddy.
I just want to appreciate the irony that you have to deal with the fire and your character's name is Moltres.
Right? Yeah, right. That's a pretty good irony because I'm vulnerable to heat, but you would think, because Moltres is a firebird, you know. Wait, was this all was this something to do with Firebird Lover? Maybe. I mean, Moltres is cool, so. Okay, so here we are in water trial here. So going to this area, there's a bit of a strat you can do in this room. So you can do a jump from this ice block if you push it against this wall. Kind of a finicky jump though, so we'll see how it goes. And then you can actually hammer right through this red ice wall. And then that will hit the switch. And at this, I'm gonna go for a safety fairy over here, just in case fire trial goes horribly wrong. Which I have sometimes gone for, so it's all good. And that's the second trial of this build. Yeah, so there's not going to be like too much going on for the next little bit, so if someone wants to commentate or otherwise read donations and the like, go right ahead.
So you do this route because you want to pick up the golden gauntlets for fire trial and light trial where you need them. However, it's possible with a few tricks to skip doing golden gauntlets entirely, but they are a little tricky to do, so I don't know if that's... Are you just not comfortable with those tricks, is what I'm guessing?
It's more like, yeah, I'm not comfortable with those tricks, and plus, like, yeah, it's just generally safer to get them, and it doesn't lose that much time, so that's how I do it. Okay, so here I just light that torch with the fire arrow. You don't actually have to do that to cross here. Okay, nice magic drop. I kind of needed that, so it's getting a little bit low. So here I'm going to go grab the golden gauntlets, so I'm just going to void out. Then just hit the torch again and go over there. There is another way to do that if you hookshot from like a... pretty much as close as you can. You can actually just hookshot the chest. But I prefer doing it this way because I feel like that's faster than messing around with that sometimes. So here we go. Here are the golden gauntlets. And then over here, just hit the switch. And furthermore, in this trial, there are also some invisible walkways that you need Lens of Truth to see, but I know where they are, so that's not a problem at all. And so now I need... Okay, so fire trial's next, so I need this and this. Kokiri boots as well. It should be good as far as health, and I do have the fairy just in case something goes wrong in fire trial, which something did go wrong in practice at points, but yeah. So fire trial is going to be one of the 2 trials that I need the golden gauntlets for, just to lift these large obsidian obelisks, like these black stone obelisks that you can only lift with gold gauntlets. Of course, there are ways around them, but I'm not comfortable with them, so I don't go for them. So that's the idea. I opt for consistency, usually, if given the choice. Okay, so here, if you don't wear hover boots, this thing falls, so I'm just carefully moving throughout this room. Okay, Maybe I'll preserve my health there a little bit. Okay, so then you have to either like move or despawn or clip inside this obelisk to get that silver rupee right in there. And yeah, this is by far the simplest way to do it. Of course, that heat timer, just like in Fire Temple, is a thing. Okay, I have to kill that torch slug because that will otherwise get in the way. I do a trick coming up. Okay, I think I should probably... Yeah, I don't have enough time to do the trick, so I'll just void out there and then respawn with the heat timer refilled. Yeah, so there's a trick right here, because normally you need the long shot to get across this gap here, but I have my ways. I can just instead do a hover slide and I can get across, and that will work just as well. Okay, I went a little bit early there, that's fine. Okay, there it is. Hover boots. There we go. And I just backwalk there to be a little bit safe, because sometimes you don't end up directly on the ledge, but just a little bit off of it. And there goes Fire Trial. So that actually went not too bad, I would say. Hey, I didn't die, so that's a good thing. Unlike that one practice run. Yeah, so Light Trial, there's not really a whole lot going on there, so it's probably a good time to get donations or other commentary in. You want to go do that, go right ahead.
Sure. So let's go with, did you know all revenue from Twitch subscriptions and cheered bits received during Fastest Furs Spring Spectacular will be donated to OAR. Get yourself some sweet PB emotes now, and don't forget to check and see if you have your Twitch Prime Gaming sub available too.
That's important. Check out for those Twitch Prime subscriptions that you might not have used yet. It's a great cause.
Absolutely. I used one myself, actually.
Great.
Because I noticed I had that. And then also, if you want to keep in touch with us on Twitter, you can use !Twitter and chat and keep up with our community there too.
Yeah, also a very good idea. And this right here is a spot where you actually do need Zelda's Lullaby for this key here. So I need Zelda's Lullaby for literally 2 things in this run. Well, unless you do Spirit Hover, but you need Zelda's Lullaby for 2 things. It's that one Triforce mark there, and then you also need it for getting magic, which you need for other things too. Okay, this room can be a little bit nasty as well, because it is a meatball room again. And what happened there? It's like I hit the boulder, but didn't. Because the camera in this room is definitely a little bit awkward at times. So I just opt to do it a certain way. So that's almost it for all the trials. There's a Spirit Trial remaining, and Spirit Trial is actually pretty fast. There's only, what, like, 1 room that I have to solve, because I solved the couple of the other puzzles in there as child already, so conveniently. So once Spirit Trial's down, then it's on the way to again and Ganondorf and finishing the run. And then furthermore, another thing that I'm doing too is I'm keeping in mind what equips I might need for these trials as well before I do them. So like here, for example, I know I'm going to need fire arrows for, well, technically I don't need them, but it's faster with fire arrows. I'm just going to get a magic drop here from that torch slug. I might have been fine anyway, but just to be safe. So I need a fire arrow here to burn the web. Alternatively, it's possible to shoot an arrow through one of the torches over there. And then here I'm gonna need, okay, let's get light arrows, bombs, and I need the bottle as well. So I will get rid of the fairy here because I don't need that anymore. And that was just for safety in case fire trial went really wrong. And that is officially all 6 trials done. I should add as well that it is technically possible to skip the trials as well, and it's fairly easy too. But this is doing the trials is part of this category, so we cannot skip them. Much like the medallions and stones, it's part of the category name after all. Medallion Stones Trials. And with that, the barrier is dispelled. That's a little bit odd. Oh yeah, it did. Okay, hang on. Okay. I'll just take a moment to fix that. Okay, let's see. Okay, perfect. You can resume the timer too. Okay. That was very strange. It was as if my audio source changed like mid-stream or something. That's never happened before.
Wow, that's weird. I chuck it up to Windows. Chuck it up to Windows.
Yeah, probably. Windows 10 for the PC.
Pretty much.
Yes. TM. Okay, so it's all good. Now we're back. Now we're back in business. So all that remains is just going up through these encounters here against Stelphos. These Stelphos are not being particularly nice.
Yeah, Stelphos. I can't really say they're RNG based. They're just more like they act more defensive than aggressive sometimes. I mean, sometimes they will just constantly like jump strike you, but other times they just pretty much just wander around, just constantly holding up the shield, and you just can't get a shot in.
Yeah, that's right. That can be what happens now. And furthermore, I did also get the only boss key that I'm getting in this whole run, because I skipped all the other ones. And then here's a strat I'm gonna go for called Double Knuckles. Like, the goal of this is basically to defeat these 2 Iron Knuckles at the same time. I did get hit once, but because I have so much health, it basically doesn't matter. I can take a hit. And I pull the bow there because this is N64, and the flames from the Iron Knuckles cause a bunch of lag, so that reduces the lag. And I have plenty of bombs left here, so I like to go for another Hess that's up these stairs. It looks really cool, too. And here we are, and now inside the Ganondorf fight. And this is just a little cutscene now, so if you guys have anything you want to say, go right ahead. Commentators, you might want to talk about the Ganondorf fight itself.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. The one thing I do want to mention, so with the Ganondorf fight, you definitely, one big tip, definitely do not overstay in the center. Because if you overstay in the center, Ganondorf will use the kind of, I call it pretty much his own, it's pretty much his Warlock Punch from Smash.
Yes.
Onto the ground, which will remove more of the blocks that are pretty much your only platforms.
Yeah, so,
kind of just
so
a bit of a tip
one.
if you ever try to play this game in the vanilla format.
Yeah, so that's one such thing. Another such thing too is, and you'll see this from me during the fight, is that bottle that I equipped, I'm actually going to use that to reflect his tennis balls back at him. Yeah, so this is a game of tennis. Why they didn't add Ganondorf to Mario Tennis, I have no idea, but hey, that's fine. Maybe they will someday.
Yeah, that is kind of a bit of a fun, little fun fact there that you use the ball to actually bounce back his goal. You know, much like in Link to the Past, where you can use the butterfly net to actually bounce back Aga's or Aghanim's magic attacks, the ones that can be reflected.
Yeah, and then here I simply get infinite sword glitch, and then I give Ganondorf the death stare. After 10 hits, he goes down. Just like that.
Yeah, in like every glitch category that uses infinite sword glitch, you will see people use it in this fight because it's a 2-frame window to hit Ganondorf and keep him stun locked with power crash stabs. So if you are to try to do that, you're gonna have to do 9 of those in a row to stun lock him to death with the Master Sword, and yeah, it's definitely a thing that is tough to do.
Yeah, that's true, especially for a category like, say, glitchless and the like. Yeah, so, by the way, speaking of other glitches, we do have another glitch coming up very soon, which is called a Void Warp. So what I'll be doing is I'll do a setup to basically skip the entirety of the collapse. So, Wayfaring Fox, if you want to explain how a Void Warp works, go ahead.
Void Warp is similar to a Wrong Warp, where it's combining loading zone effects. There's an auto void out trigger if you're in the air for a set amount of time, pretty much anywhere in the collapse sequence outside. So you time that to hit the loading zone. That's a loading zone that's below. It's gonna clip to hit this loading zone, and doing so will store that void out into the loading zone here, and that's gonna allow him to be able to move from the void and then get all the way to the bottom of the interior of the collapse, which goes right to the end.
Yeah, which that actually went without a hitch too, because there is a possibility during that trick that you can get hit by a rock when you're partially clipped out of bounds there. And that is known as a rock troll, and you can lose like a good 30 seconds sometimes, but... And Zelda loves me because I just got the kiss. She just kissed me. So that's a slight optimization as well that you can do. And it saves like a frame, but it looks super cool.
I think that one saves a pretty substantial amount of time just because she pushes you into the loading zone there.
Yeah, that's right. It definitely saves like a little bit of time for sure. Which, and that's always kind of like a swag thing as well, just because it looks neat and it saves time. Usually, like swag strats, they might look neat, but they might be slower. Yeah, so here's a good time if you guys want to do a donation maybe. But what I'm gonna do is before that, I'm gonna do a super slide into the Ganondorf cutscene, Master Sword Jump Slash as well, because Gan is actually quite vulnerable to the Master Sword. So that will do that fight nice and quickly. Take it away, everyone.
Yeah, so I just want to let y'all know that the next run coming up is Freya's Spirit playing Super Metroid with a chat plays randomizer aspect to it, so you can influence the routing for that game. And there is a bid war currently active for that, and it's Super Metroid, so of course it is to save or kill the animals. Save the Animals has $110 to it, and Kill has $10, so if you want to save the frames, now is your time to donate towards that.
Yeah, so with the super slide into the cutscene, this will allow me to keep the Master Sword throughout the fight. And who knew that Link kept a second Master Sword around? I thought there was only one of them. I guess not. So in addition, like the way this trick works is this messes up the cutscene. So normally Gan is supposed to knock your sword away here, but holding up your shield by super sliding into the cutscene prevents that. So I will get to use at least a Master Sword during this fight, and that will speed it up a little bit. At least for the first phase.
So, like with the Flare Dancer, everything does reduce damage to Ganon except the Master Sword. So, it saves quite a bit of time to be able to use the Master Sword for the first phase. Everything else would do 10 hits to end the phase.
It's true.
Right, so that's the first phase down, and then this part is actually scripted, so you have to pick up the Master Sword here. And then now is the second phase, and by the way, time is going to come up soon enough. But basically the strat here is you roll between his legs, crouch stab his tail, just repeat till he goes down. Which, in this phase, is usually like 4 hits. And there we go. That's that. So, by the way, I should mention too, time is coming up very, very soon. It's basically when I do the last meaningful player input, which is when I stab Ganon in the face. It will go to a cutscene. I'll let you guys know when that comes up, but it's very shortly here, within a few seconds. And time! That's time right there.
Nicely done. Congratulations on that run.
Yeah, thanks so much. What was the final time, by the way?
Looks like we're looking at exactly 2 hours and 33 minutes. 0 seconds.
Oh, what was that again? There was some loud noise there.
Sure. Yeah, your final time here is 2 hours and 33 minutes.
Nice, exactly. That's actually quite good. Honestly, like that's even better than any of the practice runs that I've done leading up to this.
Awesome.
So I'm actually quite happy with that. All in all, I feel like this run went fairly well for the most part, and I'm very happy about that.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
And for reference, my PB in comparison is like 2 hours and 23 minutes. So I'm like 10 minutes behind PB, but it makes sense. I did mess up a few tricks, but hey, that's okay. Some things definitely did happen that were not planned for. Like, I don't know, my audio suddenly cutting out, or I guess failing a boat skip, failing a shadow cutscene skip. But that's okay. If anything, if I'm happy about anything, I'm happy that Fire Temple went really well.
Well, of course it did well. Your character is Moltres.
Right? Yeah, of course. Even though it was still ironic that, well, being named Moltres does not grant me immunity to fire damage, but hey, it worked
Oh,
out.
right? If only it did.
If only.
And did you have any shoutouts you wanted to do,
Yeah, of
Savage?
course. Yeah, of course I have some shoutouts. So first off, I want to shout out our commentators that were on today. So Wayfaring Fox and Gamer Wolf, thanks so much for being here today. I want to shout out everyone in Tech Crew, all the organizers, of course, OAR themselves, and the entire Ocarina of Time speedrunning community too, and the randomizer community while we're at it, because they are a bunch of great people, and they have a lot of great resources if you're interested in speedrunning this game. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there. It's an old game. A lot of strats are out there. You can also check out, if you're curious, too, you can check out zeldaspeedruns.com for strategies, that sort of like. And there's also a Discord, too, for the Ocarina of Time community, in between all those. So, and that about wraps it up.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, for this game, I'll say for me personally, it's always been like kind of an intimidating thing to watch, like from a speedrun randomizer perspective. But I really appreciate how much you explained along the way of the run. I felt like I not being a player of this game for speedrunning, like I felt like I could kind of pick it up myself. So that was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, Super Metroid being a game close to my heart as well. I'm sure Freya's will destroy it, and let's see if they save or kill the animals or not. That will be a ton of fun to see. So have a good night, you guys, and thank you so much again for having me. It was a pleasure.
For sure. Thanks so much, Savage.